Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
YouTube, what is good? Welcome to Philly Take with RB, home of the hottest sports takes, presented to you by yours truly. Like always, go follow me on my social medias, and if you're new to the channel or if you've been subscribed, and more importantly, if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, smash that like button to help spread this content to other great Philadelphia fans like yourselves. I'll be honest with you. With everything going on in the world right now, I'm upset. I miss sports. The Sixers aren't going to be playing for a while, and the Phillies are sent home, and I don't know what else to do. But like I've been saying, once the Eagles season comes, I'm going to transition very smoothly to Eagles content. I'm not just a Sixers content creator. I love all my Philly sports teams. And right now, football is the only sport that hasn't been put off. Free agency is set to start on Monday. And as of now, we're going to be ready to rock and roll. So I wanted to make a good Philadelphia Eagles video today. And I was thinking, and the first thing that came to mind to me, one of the major positions that this team has to address, cornerback. Now I want to go through all of the options, free agency, draft, and in-house. But first and foremost, I just want to say, over the years, I am so sick and tired of watching these Eagles cornerbacks get burnt like toast every single Sunday. We have our good games here and there, but overall, no matter the guys that we've brought into this system, into this team, into this city, to me, it's like a recurring trend. We go out and sign some dudes. We go out and sign Nnamdi Asomugha, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. We go and get Ronald Darby. We go and get Kerry Williams. And every single time, it fails. As much as we're going to talk about which players we need to address, I think it's also important to note, this defensive coaching system needs to get it together. Whether it's Jim Schwartz needing to send more guys on the defensive front to blitz, because we know he coaches soft at times. We have Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, all them boys. Those are some bad boys. You got to send the pressure. We can't always leave these dudes on an island. I'm excited about Marquand Manuel. He's had some coaching experience now with the Seahawks and the Falcons, teams that have gotten to the Super Bowl. I'm excited about that hire. And I'm ready to see him get to work, along with Jim Schwartz, along with these other guys. The old DB's coach, Corey Unlin, I don't know how he got a job as defensive coordinator with the Lions, but good luck to him. But anyway, along with the coaching, the players have some responsibility as well. So first, I think we should talk about the guys that we have. Ronald Darby's a free agent. Jalen Mills is a free agent. Personally, I do not see those guys coming back. I see those guys going to test the market, and I don't think the Eagles want to provide funding to bring those dudes back. With how they've played, with the injury situation, I think they bring some qualities to the table. I've never been a big Jalen Mills fan. I mean, when he came back this year, he looked okay in a couple games. Ronald Darby has had his moments. I mean, these guys were part of the Super Bowl team, and I'll never forget that, and they had a great run. But overall, I think it's time to move on from them. Now let's look at what else we have. Avonte Maddox, we'll start with him. Avonte Maddox is 5'9", or at least he's listed as 5'9", so he might even be shorter. I love the aggression that dude plays with. The problem with me is that sometimes, whether it's coaching or the players, these guys play too far off their men. Avonte Maddox, as soon as he stepped in a couple years ago, I know he started at safety and then converted to cornerback, when everyone was going down with injuries. I like how the dude plays. I think he will be a key part of this defense going forward. But in my opinion, Avonte Maddox should play safety next to Malcolm Jenkins. I think Malcolm has had a huge impact on Avonte Maddox, just seeing the way that Avonte approaches the game, approaches each week. I know he had some bad times this year. He was, raked through the coals for some of those games. But then again, I've also seen some great games from Avonte Maddox. I think he's a little bit on the shorter side, but I would love for him to be a part of the future of this team. And I think we should really look at playing him at safety, especially if Rodney McLeod leaves and doesn't take the discount to come back. So now we look at Rasul Douglas. We look at Sidney Jones. Rasul Douglas, he can play the zone, but man on man, one-on-one on an island, he is getting cooked every single Sunday. I would let him compete going forward. I think, I've seen some positives from Rasul, but overall, sometimes he just plays too lazy. Sometimes he doesn't look engaged. I don't think Rasul Douglas will be a starter on this team. I think he will compete, but who knows? And then Sidney Jones, I love the dude. I think he has the potential to be there, to take that next step. The injuries have, held him back and stuff. I haven't really seen his feet under him. The Sidney Jones that I saw a couple years ago, in the combine and everything, until he tore his ACL. I think he can become that Sidney Jones. But again, he will be competing for sure on this roster whenever the season comes back. So I think there are some options to compete. But overall, and this will transition us to our next phase, free agency, starting on Monday. We've heard a lot of different things. We've heard the Eagles linked to Darius Slay, to Byron Jones, and now to Xavier Rhodes, who got cut by the Vikings yesterday. Overall, I think the Eagles will end up acquiring one of these players. Now, it all comes down to the money situation. Do you want to overpay for a guy like Byron Jones, a 27-year-old who's 6'1", has shown the ability to elevate to be a number one corner on a team? Maybe doesn't have the statistics to prove it, but he has shown potential that he can play corner. A division rival, would we go and overpay for him to just take him away from the Cowboys? Who knows? But I think Byron Jones would be a solid piece for this team. But then again, I do not want to overpay for Byron Jones. I saw this team overpay for Byron Maxwell a couple years ago, and that ended up so bad because the system he was in did not translate to, like I said, what the coaches do here. They have to figure out which pieces will be the best personnel-wise for what they're trying to run. I would be fine with Byron Jones, but I don't want to go and pay him upwards of $40, $50, $60 million to be the corner on this team. But we have to make a splash somehow. Next, let's look at Darius Slay. Darius Slay is 29 years old from the Detroit Lions. He's had a solid career. I consider Darius Slay probably a number one corner, of course. Again, it's hard to judge because each situation is different. He's played with the Detroit Lions. But Darius Slay, a two-time Pro Bowler. He's stayed pretty much consistently healthy throughout his career, as well as Byron Jones. Darius Slay can make tackles in the open field. He has 1 year left on his current deal. At the combine, or before everything was shut down, Matt Patricia and the Lions ownership staff and all are talking about trading Darius Slay. I thought it would happen maybe at the trade deadline this year, or maybe even last year, but it hasn't. I don't see Darius Slay playing the last year on his deal. I think the Lions will move him, but it's about what do you have to give up for him. Because what if the Eagles go and give up more than we have to for Darius Slay? And what if he comes here and doesn't fit in right away and there's tension, or maybe not even tension, it's just not the right fit right away? And then what? We lose a couple picks, we lose maybe some players, and then Darius Slay leaves next year in free agency? Do we want to take that risk? That is a high risk, high reward. Byron Jones, high risk, high reward. Should we? Or maybe the next option, Xavier Rhodes. Should we go with a low risk, high reward? Xavier Rhodes, he's 29 years old, approaching 30. He just got cut by the Vikings. He's had a decent career, 3-time Pro Bowler. I liked him in 2017, especially when the Vikings had that oh-so-great defense that the Eagles tore apart in the NFC Championship. I remember Xavier Rhodes clearly. It's kind of hard to judge cornerbacks because, you look and they might have 1 or 2 interceptions for a season, but let's think about it. Just because they don't have the statistics, maybe they're not throwing their way. Maybe they are locked down corners. I think Xavier Rhodes would be a good option for this team. Maybe at least bring him in for a workout and try him out. Make sure his legs are still under him. I know the last year he's been injured a little bit and he's been a little inconsistent with the Vikings. Their whole defense was. I thought they would take a step up after 17, but they actually regressed. Xavier Rhodes didn't have any interceptions this past year, but overall, I would like to, at least look at him, and I don't think you would have to pay a bundle for Xavier Rhodes to come in and get a tryout here. I think he would be a good option. You can let me know what you think down below. Another guy I've heard is Chris Harris Jr. from the Broncos. He's a little bit on the shorter side, but the dude has had a great career. He's 30 years old. He's been to the Pro Bowl 4 times. He's been an All-Pro. He understands the game. He is a veteran. I think the Broncos will move on from him. He was a big part, in their runs a couple years back. But I think the Broncos are going to go into rebuild mode. I think they're looking to move him. Maybe Howie can work out a deal. Howie's a good GM. Maybe he can work out a deal, maybe to not overpay for a guy like Chris Harris. The veteran, experience, the veteran leadership of Chris Harris would do a lot for these young guys. And as long as the system is right and it's worked around to fit, the talents of these guys, like I said, I would like Chris Harris. I like how Chris Harris and Darius Slay approach the game, just from terms of the eye test. They're aggressive. That is what we need on this team. I'm tired of seeing dudes just play lackadaisical and just play back, and on a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, they're playing 10 yards off their man. That's not what we need. We need dudes that are going to be ball hawks. We need, when the pressure, and we need, like I said, to blitz more, we need these guys to just be able to guard guys one-on-one. The Eagles, if you notice, we let the teams come down 5 yards at a time, couple yards here and there, and when they get to the red zone, the Eagles are on lockdown for the most part because of the short field. Where the Eagles really get burnt is on the long ball. We can't have any of that if we want to be a legitimate contender, if we want to hold these good defenses to a lower amount of points. The deep ball is where the Eagles, that's where our flaws are really exposed. Now, some of that is the system, of course, but these guys, you got to be able to guard and do one-on-one. Sometimes I just see them out of position. They're just not in the right position, and that's on coaching. But I think a lot of these options are good, and in terms of, having players with talents and leadership and experience, I think some of these options would really be good for the Eagles to look at. I do think they will make a big splash in terms of one of these dudes. I don't know who it is. I don't want to give up too much. But I think they're going to go for one of these dudes. And then in the draft, do the Eagles trade up, that 2nd round pick? I think it's pick 53. Do they trade up and get a guy like A.J. Terrell? C.J. Henderson, he'll probably go earlier in the 1st round. Do they wait maybe with one of their 3rd round picks? Maybe get a guy like Jalen Johnson from Utah. Do they wait, maybe get a Stanford Samuels from Florida State? Maybe even later on get an A.J. Green from Oklahoma State. There are options. I think the dudes that we've tried to get in college, it's, they take some time to translate to the NFL. This isn't, to me, a corner-heavy draft like we've had in the past couple years. But there are still some good options out there. I think all of these present good options. There's going to be some good competition, come training time, whenever it is. And if Marquand Manuel gets things rolling like I expect him to, if Jim Schwartz kind of figures out what he needs to do and makes adjustments, I think we have paved the way for this team to be solid this year. As long as Malcolm Jenkins returns, it doesn't hold out. As long as these other guys stay healthy, that is the thing. We've had too many injuries the last couple years. Guys are not healthy enough. We need a lockdown corner. I'm tired of seeing the Eagles get burnt on defense. They need to respect and fear the Eagles' corners. Quarterbacks come in here and they're just ready to throw it downfield. 30, 40 yards by the time we get to the 2nd quarter. Because they see the flaws and they adjust. And Jim Schwartz needs to adjust better. I think all these are good options for cornerback. I'm really intrigued to see what the Eagles are going to do. Let me know down below what you think about the whole cornerback situation in terms of the draft, free agency, in-house. What do you think we should do? Leave your comments down below. Like the video. Like I said, if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we're going to be bringing a lot of Eagles content. Sub to the channel. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate all of you, and I'll catch you on the next one, man. Peace.
Perfect.